Hi, so it's nearly 8 o'clock, and in 2 minutes I'm going to begin my presentation on allergies, what they are, how we can heal them. So I'm going to wait for 2 minutes for people to join. This is the first Facebook Live session I've done, so you have to bear with me if there are any hitches. If you'd like to click on the video to show that you've joined it, that would be great. So I'm going to wait a few minutes, and we're just before 8 o'clock. So let's wait a few minutes to see who wants to join. So if you have joined, thank you for coming along. I'm just going to wait another 1 or 2 minutes and then start at 8 o'clock, and hopefully we'll get some more people joining. It may take a little time for people to learn the technology, etc. I'm also learning how to use this technology, but wanting to get out and really talk to more people. So I hope this is going to work well. While we're waiting, if anyone has any initial questions, and if you'd like to give the reason why you've joined this talk, it would be great to hear. If you have allergies yourself, or if you know of anybody who has allergies. Okay, so I'm getting, I've got one person who said they've joined, and then I've got 11 more, 12. So I guess I'm still learning how to use this system myself, so you have to bear with me. Okay, so more people coming on board. So I'm just going to wait another minute or two, and then I'll start. And what I'm intending to do is give a presentation for about 15 minutes, and then open it to questions. What I normally do when I'm giving talks is I really like questions. While I'm talking, it kind of helps people to understand things. So if you want to try that, you can, but I can't guarantee I'm going to answer your questions during the presentation. Once I finish the presentation, then I'm going to open it to questions, and I'll just focus on answering your questions. Okay, so thank you everyone who's joined so far. Quite a few people joining still. Okay, so let's start. So allergies. I thought allergies would be a good subject to talk about because allergies are really on the increase. 50 years ago, allergies were not common. Hay fever, for example, was not common. And they're increasing rapidly. Hay fever is increasing rapidly in the UK. About 6 million people out of a population of 60-something million have hay fever, so that's about 10% of the population. And food allergies and other allergies are all becoming more common. Western medicine doesn't really understand why, so a bit later on I want to explain the kind of macrobiotic understanding of why allergies are becoming more common. So I'm going to spend a little bit of time just running over what are allergies. An allergy is an overreaction by the immune system to some substance. It might be a substance in the air, and the reaction might be in the nose or the sinuses or the eyes. and this substance irritates the mucous membrane. That's the line of cells which is forming a barrier between the outside of the body and the inside of the body. For some reason, the pollen or other substances get in, and then the body sets up an allergic reaction, which involves swelling. The body produces a chemical called histamine, which has a variety of effects, including making the blood capillaries the walls of the blood capillaries more permeable. And the idea of doing that is so that fluids and also white blood cells can come out of the blood capillaries into the tissues and find any foreign bugs, bacteria, viruses, particles, etc., and destroy them. So, but that creates some swelling in the tissues. The tissues become more red and swollen, and irritated. So if that happens in the nose or the eyes, then it can cause a lot of distress, a lot of discomfort. Then there are also allergies to food. Really, the same kind of thing. Eating a certain food gets into the throat or the stomach or the intestines, and for some reason, substances which don't normally create a reaction get through the lining of the intestine. The body thinks it's being attacked. It sets up an immune response, creates the histamine. There's inflammation. There's mucus production, and then we will feel bloated, maybe more gas forming, pain, etc., happening in the intestines. So an allergy is definitely the immune system overreacting. What it's doing is sending its immune chemicals, immunoglobulins, to the place, and that's what then sets up a whole reaction. So this is, just to say one thing, this is different to a food intolerance. So I just want to say that what the difference between a food intolerance and a food allergy is, because they're two different things. Although they may kind of merge together a little, may overlap a little bit. So a lot of people have a food intolerance. A food intolerance is when it's just difficult to digest a certain food. It may be beans or nuts or all kinds of different foods. And so it's just difficult to digest. So usually sometime after eating the food, maybe an hour or several hours after eating the food, one gets discomfort and pain and wind and maybe diarrhea and so on happening. That's different to when one has an allergy. With an allergy, even if one eats a very small amount of a substance, for someone who has an allergy, for example, to peanuts, which is, nuts are quite a common thing for people to become allergic to, they can eat one nut or half a nut or just a small amount, and that's enough for the immune system to think it's being attacked and set up a response, and then people get a whole variety of different symptoms. So some people who have food intolerances say, "Oh, I've got an allergy to something," and actually it's just that their body doesn't like it. It may even be something like milk, which maybe it's just not good for that person to eat milk, and actually the body is just not happy with that food. So I hope that's made it clear, the difference between allergies and food intolerances. So allergies, there's definitely a strong immune system response. So I've talked about the nose, the eyes, maybe in the lungs as well. Some people suffer from a form of asthma in which there's an allergy. So when they come in touch with certain substances, it sets off the allergy. It may be pollen, it may be dust mites, it may be pet hairs, or whatever it is that comes off pets, which fills which comes into the air and covers furniture and so on. And what's happening in the lungs is the same thing. A swelling up happens, and of course, if you've got a tube, your airways, and that swells up, what happens is that the lining swells up, so actually that the hole is getting smaller, and then it becomes more difficult to breathe. So not all asthma is allergic, but for some people it does happen as a result of an allergy. One other thing to mention is really severe allergy can cause an anaphylactic shock. So this sometimes hits the news quite recently. There's been a few cases in the news. This is where the person is extremely hypersensitive to a certain subject, and swelling up happens in a lot of tissues, and it can happen in the throat, and then somebody can't breathe, which can be fatal. Also, they go into anaphylactic shock, and that's caused by a lot of tissue swelling up. So the blood capillaries become leaky, the fluid goes out, so then the blood volume goes down, and then the blood pressure goes down, and then there's not enough blood to go to essential organs, and that can also be fatal. So I hope that's given you like a brief, clear kind of introduction to what allergies are. Maybe hay fever is the commonest allergy that people have, but food allergy is also common. So gluten, a lot of talk about gluten these days. I think most people have a gluten intolerance. It's more discomfort from eating significant amounts of gluten, from eating wheat or other grains. Celiacs, you may have heard of celiac disease. This is where this is more of an allergic reaction, where people can eat even a minute amount. There can just be a minute amount of gluten in a sauce or something, and then they get a very strong reaction. So celiacs have to be extremely careful to avoid gluten completely. So Western approach, or our society's approach to allergies, number one is to try and avoid the substance. Obviously that's kind of easier with foods. If it's airborne, it's not so easy. You can not have pets. You can get vacuum cleaners that give a very thorough clean, but some airborne allergens, they're called allergens, things which the body sets up an allergic reaction to, like pollen, obviously one can't avoid, so one's just going to get the symptoms. There are various drugs, nasal sprays, particularly containing the chemical antihistamine, which counteracts the effect of the histamine which the body is producing, which produces the leaky capillaries and the swelling and so on. And you may have heard, if people are prone to having an anaphylactic shock, then by far the most effective thing is to have a shot of adrenaline. And so anyone who's susceptible to anaphylactic shock is encouraged to carry around a pen, which can give a dose of adrenaline, which can really reduce the swelling. So that's about it, really. There's some experimentation with desensitizing people. Say if someone has an allergy to peanuts, they're given very small doses injected into the body or maybe under the tongue over a long period of time to gradually desensitize them. Kind of can be helpful, but also often quite limited success. So that's kind of where we are with allergies. So really the big question is, why so many allergies? Why are there so many more people having allergies now than 50 years ago? There must be a reason for that. So I want to tell you the kind of more macrobiotic explanation, more natural explanation. And this is a bit of an experiment to see whether this works. I've got a diagram here. Just gonna change my angle of my computer a bit. So this is showing what the lining of the mucous membrane, and basically there are these cells along here. They're called epithelial cells. There's just one line of cells, and then along the bottom you've got some blood vessels, and there's a membrane in between the two. And then what I've done in a kind of greeny color, like this one, this is a goblet cell. Goblet cells, I guess they're goblet shaped, and that's why they're called goblet cells. And they're producing mucus because the body protects itself with mucus, and so the goblet cells produce mucus, which onto the surface, which also have these little hairs on, these little cilia. So these cilia kind of wave and move the mucus along. So if it's the lining of the lungs have these cells, and it brings the mucus up to the back of the throat, and then we swallow it and it goes to the stomach. We also have them in the lining of the nose. So basically this one line of cells has to keep everything foreign out of the body, bacteria, viruses, dust, mites, fungi, everything. So this layer of cells needs to be tight. It needs to be making a really good barrier. So for some reason it becomes leaky. Stuff gets into the body, gets into the bloodstream, and then the immune system sets up a reaction. So the question is, why does this system become leaky? Instead of the cells being tight, maybe it's also something to do with the cell membranes. Instead of them being tight and creating a nice strong barrier, they become leaky, and then the proteins from the pollen or the food get into the bloodstream. The body thinks it's being attacked. It recognizes these proteins are foreign proteins, and you get an allergic reaction, whether that's gluten or something else. Yep, so why leaky? The macrobiotic way of understanding life and food and health is using yin and yang. This is these kind of ancient principles or symbols of everything coming in opposite pairs in life. Right now it's evening time here. It's still light, but it's soon going to be dark. During the day we tend to be active. At night we go to sleep. Internally our body can become more acid or alkaline. This actually works much better when it's slightly alkaline. It works when it's not too hot, not too cold. We need a balance between sodium and potassium in our food and in our body. Everything works according to a balance between yin and yang. So there are more yang foods, which create more tightness and strength and tension in the body. And then there are more yin foods, which are more opening and cause more expansion in tissues. But if we overdo the yin foods, then the tissues can become weak. And this is what's happening with the mucous membranes, letting allergens in. So you may be familiar with macrobiotics and you know all the yin foods, but just in case you don't, then I'll tell you what the yin foods are. They are some of the more kind of fun, kind of stimulating, relaxing type foods. I would say the number one yin food in causing allergies is sugar, refined sugar. And really one of the main reasons why allergies have increased so much is because of the very, very big increase in consumption of sugar over the last 50 years in all kinds of different forms. Obviously in kind of sweets and bars and cakes and biscuits, but also in sauces and tin fish and just about anything they put in breads. just about anything they put sugar in, because people get used to it, and then things sell better with the sugar in. Also alcohol. So maybe alcohol is quite a good example, because when we have some alcohol, a little bit of alcohol opens us up, makes us more happy, maybe gives us more joy, makes us more communicative. If we have a bit more alcohol, then often we go red in the face, and our blood vessels and the whites of the eyes may become more red because the blood capillaries are expanding, which is a good example of what's happening in the mucous membrane as well. The mucous membrane is swelling up, and when it swells, then it becomes a weaker barrier. Instead of being a tight barrier, it becomes a loose barrier, and then things can start getting in. So by regularly consuming, I think sugar really is the number one. Alcohol, also coffee, black tea, spices to some extent. I'm not saying that all these foods are bad foods and that one should never have any of them. Actually, I don't really see any reason for having refined sugar, but spices, can be part of a healthy diet. But it's just if one's overdoing all these different yin foods. Also, fruits, overdoing fruit, especially tropical fruits. Of course, people think fruit is healthy. Fruit's a good thing, and then so if you eat more fruit, then you're going to be healthier. But the Oriental idea is that actually we need everything in balance. A little bit of fruit is more opening and fresh, but if you think of fruit, it is very watery and soft. And if we eat a lot of fruit, then also our tissues become watery and soft. And some people find if they eat a lot of fruit, they get a watery mucus coming out of the nose, because there's too much of that wateryness. And eating a lot of fruit will also weaken the mucous membranes, especially tropical fruits, which are more kind of watery and contain more sugars. And also fruit juices. Some people, we've been through a period of time where smoothies are thought to be really excellent things. Just, bung in some apples, bananas, carrots, greens, nuts, all kinds of different stuff, whiz it all up. This is pretty yin stuff. I think vegetable juices can be really useful, but a lot of fruit juice, as quite a lot of people are realizing now, a lot of fruit juice is not good for the health, and definitely can contribute to allergies, especially tropical fruit juices, orange juice, pineapple juice, etc. Okay, if we live in the countries where they grow, to have a little of that, but not in a more kind of Northern European or North American or colder climate, because they just make these, the mucous membranes swell, and then it's a poor barrier. Same thing in the intestine. If we're eating these more yin foods, then the lining becomes more permeable. Some people call that having a leaky gut, and then things get in allergic reaction. Quite possibly milk contributes to intestinal problems quite a bit, as well as, it's a somewhat more yin substance, and particularly if people are drinking a lot, like a pint a day, half a litre a day, that can have quite a strong effect on the body as well. So this sounds a very simple theory, that the cause of most allergies are eating more yin foods and creating a leakiness in the mucous membranes in the nose or the intestine. But I think this is really where, this is really the source of the problem. So how do we help allergies? So first thing is to really reduce or stop eating those. And at the end of this, I'm going to, there's on our school, International Macrobiotics School website, there is a challenge for you to do, which is to give up eating sugar. Again, some of you may have done that already. Some of you may be into macrobiotics or healthy eating and have given up eating sugar, refined sugar. But if you haven't, this is a very good challenge. and describing some steps that you can take, and there's some recipes for cooking some healthy sweet foods, etc. And I'll say a little bit more at the end. Really no reason to eat refined sugar at all. I've hardly eaten any for about 39 years now. I might occasionally eat something with a bit of sugar in, but on a daily, weekly basis, I haven't eaten any refined sugar for that length of time. Enjoy a lot of sweet foods and delicious foods. And yeah, really no reason to eat refined sugar. So got to stop eating those foods, and then eating more foods which are going to have a positive effect, a more gently tightening effect on the mucous membranes. You could say that this is mostly whole foods, whole grains. Whole foods contain fiber. That's a more yang food, which creates a little bit more tension or strength in the body. So eating whole grains, brown rice, millet, quinoa, brown couscous, wholemeal bread, etc. Vegetables, especially fibrous vegetables, root vegetables, kale, greens, certain amount of seeds, nuts, sea vegetables, beans, etc. As well, all of those whole foods. And also one other category of foods, which are minerals. So we're all kind of eating a certain amount of salt, which causes contraction. Very old method of food preservation is to salt foods, to salt vegetables or fish or meat or whatever. You mix the food up with a little salt and it dries it out and it contracts. Obviously we can't overdo salt because that's going to be detrimental to the health, but eating small amounts of salt in a lot of different dishes, preferably sea salt, which has a much better balance of minerals, and also other high mineral foods, so green vegetables, sea vegetables, and seasonings like miso, shoyu or tamari soy sauce, herb salt, vegetable bouillon, etc. Especially in soups, but also other dishes. So minerals also help the tissues to contract. Also, not over drinking fluids. So we're in the middle of a kind of dietary fashion of thinking it's very good to drink loads of liquid. If you're dehydrated, yes, then we need to drink more liquid, but most people aren't dehydrated, but somehow the world thinks that everybody's dehydrated and needs to drink more right now, which is really not true. And over drinking liquids, depends what liquid it is. Over drinking water doesn't have such strong effects on the body, but if you're over drinking fruit juices, for example, or tea or coffee, then that definitely can contribute to hay fever or other allergies. So if you're drinking liquid, if you're forcing yourself to drink liquid, then please stop that and just drink when you're thirsty. So those are some of the steps you can take. Also, what helps the whole body become tighter is some good, strong physical exercise, whether that's brisk walking or running or playing a sport or doing the housework or swimming, whatever. Physical activity. We sweat, the water comes out, our muscles contract, we become more yang. That also helps push out the excess fluid and the yin out of the body. So some good physical activity. So I hope that gives you, like a basic picture. So now I want to kind of open to questions. I see that there is one here. From Anna. I was told maybe 10 years ago I was allergic to a few kinds of pollen. I became vegan some years after. Since then I've only had an occasional runny nose in the spring, but nothing serious that clean eating and proper sleep wouldn't make go away. So fantastic. So you've already done an experiment in your eating and got some improvement. So does anybody else have any questions? Is there anybody that has allergies that would like some help? Or of people that have allergies? I'm getting all kinds of little symbols coming up. Oh, sorry, maybe I need to, sorry. Yes, I forgot I needed to just scroll down. So someone, Catherine, asking about asthma. Does it have the same origin? It generally has the same origin in terms of more yin foods, an excess of more yin foods, maybe a lack of more healthy yang foods, and maybe a lack of strong exercise as well. And also deep breathing and abdominal breathing, which can really help people with asthma. Because yin foods cause swelling, and that can be swelling of the lining of the airways, which can bring on asthma. Some people, it's also part of an allergic response. When they get exposed to something specific, then the asthma comes on. But a lot of people, it's not an allergic reaction, but it is due to those yin foods. So again, asthma, which, well, it's becoming more and more common in children in Western culture. It used to be a rare illness. I think for the same reasons of sugar and processed foods and becoming more common, and a lack of really good whole foods, which is what most of the world has lived off for hundreds, thousands of years. And maybe a lack of exercise has really increased the amount of asthma. Some people grow out of it, but some people it continues, and definitely I've seen people get an improvement or reduced asthma through the kind of healing regime that I described earlier. Then someone, Anna, is asking about rosacea, and you say skin allergy. Does it come from our intestine, and can it be helped with food and diet? Rosacea is a kind of general term for strong redness in the face. So it can have different causes. Sometimes there's a link with the intestines, sometimes there's a link with the liver, and definitely food, and which has an effect on our internal health, can have an effect in creating that. Some problems I really need to kind of see people to be able to make a more accurate diagnosis, but just to kind of say simply, there's rosacea. If it's more of a pinkness over the whole face, then that generally is more from yin. The blood vessels are becoming more expanded, the blood capillaries are becoming more expanded. If there's a permanent kind of pink, more of a light pinkness through the whole face, then that's a more yin problem from eating those more yin foods, and there may well be some problems in the intestine as well. Another form of rosacea, which is maybe more troubling, is when the redness is really deep in the skin, and there may be some quite large broken blood vessels in the cheeks, and the redness may go down into the neck or the chest as well, and it's a much more dark red color, and it just looks like it's more deep in the skin. You can even have a kind of angry look to it. This is coming more from excess heat from the liver. The liver creates a certain amount of heat, and if we develop a lot of tension in the liver because of stress or holding on to emotions or eating too many yang foods, heavy, dense foods which block the liver energy, like cheese and meat and eggs, then the tension builds up heat, and then that comes up into the chest and then into the face, and can cause a deep red, permanent deep red color. So the macrobiotic idea is around food as well as life, is to create balance. And the most balanced foods are the whole plant foods, the grains, the vegetables, the beans, seeds, nuts, local fruits, sea vegetables. So that's what to eat mostly. Maybe a little fish, shellfish, a little bit of animal food, some, a little bit of oil, herbs, fruit juices, a little bit of spice. Very little at the yin end of sugar, coffee, a little bit of alcohol, but not too much, and a bit of salt up the yang end, but not much in the way of meat, poultry, cheese, eggs either. So that more central diet will tend to be healing in both cases. So I hope that's helped you, Anna, a little bit with rosacea. If anybody wants more information after this video finishes, then message me and I'll be happy to get back to you. And then Vila is asking, does pollen intolerance come first as a problem before leaky gut? Or is this more severe, or depending on the constitution or condition? Kyle, that's a good question. So really you're saying, does the intolerance, here, in the nose sinuses, come before the intolerance in the gut? I don't think so. I think because some people have food intolerances, but they don't have an intolerance to pollen. I think it's more that these two main areas are governed by different systems in Oriental medicine. The nose, the sinuses, the eyes and around here are governed much more by the lung energy. So if people have a weakness in their lung energy, then particularly if you could say their lung energy has become more yin, they're going to be prone to getting hay fever and these more allergies to airborne things. Whereas if somebody has some weakness in their intestines, especially the small intestine, then they're going to be much more likely to develop a food intolerance. Also in Oriental medicine, the spleen energy, which is not so much to do with the spleen, it's more to do with the pancreas and also the stomach. They have a lot to do with the digestion, and if there's a real weakness in the spleen energy, that creates a weakness in the whole digestion, and that can contribute as well. So I think it depends more on where people's weakness is. Is it more in the lungs, or is it more in the digestive system? Okay. Okay, Catherine, thanks for saying thanks a lot. So Jenna Selby, you're saying that you don't find you need sugar very much, and then the week before you menstruate, you really do crave sugar. I think you're not alone in that. I think that's pretty common. What's actually happening over the menstrual cycle is tension is building up in the second half of the cycle. Or you could say tension, energy is building up in the body, because there's that possibility of the egg that's been released becoming fertilized and implanting in the uterus, and then a lot of blood and energy and nutrients are all needed. So there's this real gathering of the energy in the lower abdomen, and then at menstruation that's released, and then the body starts with another cycle. So that time before the period comes, before there's that release, it's common for women to feel more tense, particularly if you're holding a lot of tension in the body anyway, and actually especially in the liver, because in Oriental medicine that the liver energy moves all around the body, and the liver meridian goes down and through the uterus, around the genitals, and then down the legs. What could so I think you're wanting the sugar because it's yin. You're becoming more tense, and then your body's saying, I need something yin, I need something to open and relax me. So to avoid the sugar, maybe you can, during that last week, not have too much in the way of, I don't know what kind of diet you're eating, but not eating too much in the way of heavy, dense foods which block the liver, meat, poultry, cheese, eggs, heavy salty foods, dry bread, etc. Just eating more light grains, maybe long grain brown rice, quinoa, beans, lentils, tofu, loads of vegetables, and some good quality desserts. Make yourself a good quality dessert every day. Some nice poached pears or stewed apple or cooked dried fruits, maybe with some oat cream or some homemade custard or something like that. Make yourself just some nice desserts which will help relax your body. Some fruit jelly using agar flakes, and there's recipes for these things in the challenge, which is on the website, which I'll tell you about at the end. So you could go there and get some of those recipes and just make yourself a really nice dessert every day. So I hope that helps. And then Louise is asking about foods that would help eczema and psoriasis. So they're not so much allergies, more skin problems. So I don't think I'm going to go into that in detail. If you've got a particular problem, maybe you could message me. Certainly diet can have an effect. The skin is also an excretory organ, as well as giving us protection, as well as the kidneys excreting waste. Also the skin excretes waste. And if we're eating too much, especially too much fats or oils or proteins or sugars, they come out through the skin, and then they can produce problems. Eczema is usually more yin foods. Psoriasis is often more kind of heavy, fatty protein foods, cheese, etc. Okay, thank you, Viola, for getting back and saying thank you. Anything can be done if you have a bone-on-bone situation in your joint of your big toe. So not so much an allergy, Susan. So I'm going to leave that, but maybe get in touch. Anna Louisa, nice to hear from you. Are allergies reversible? Yes, I think they very much are. I think they very much are reversible. I've seen a lot of people reverse them. However, what we're looking at really to reverse them is improving the health of the body. So it means taking steps, changing one's diet, changing one's food, maybe taking more exercise, maybe changing one's attitude to one's health, maybe prioritizing health and cooking more, maybe facing some of any emotional patterns which are keeping one trapped in unhealthy eating patterns, etc. And if people are really willing to change their health, then yeah, definitely it's possible to heal allergies. The other thing I'd say is, it depends how deep they are in the body. If people have had allergies for 30 years, there's a deeper imbalance in the body, and it's going to take longer. If it's fairly recent, then it's a more shallow imbalance, and it'll probably clear up faster. The more serious it is, then the more people need really some quite precise recommendations to help them. And then I'd recommend getting in touch with a macrobiotic health consultant, myself if you want to, and I work on Skype as well, or any other macrobiotic consultant to give more precise recommendations. Okay, Jenna, I'm glad you like the idea of the desserts. I don't know why, I give a lot of consultations, and I'm often recommending desserts to people, healthy desserts to people, because I think sometimes people get into eating sugar, but don't make themselves healthy desserts. And actually, if we make ourselves healthy desserts, nice sweet fruit, relaxing kind of desserts, then it really helps us stay off the sugar and the more unhealthy stuff. And it just has a nice relaxing effect on the body. And if we're in good health, why not? What do I think about drinking celery juice first thing in the morning? So that's more of a remedy that's very helpful for the liver. The liver likes lightness and open, slightly more yin things. So good for cleansing the liver. Good for opening up the liver, particularly if one's eaten a lot of heavy, cloggy, fatty, oily foods in the past. Okay, so 45 minutes is nearly up. So I want to say a few things about if you want to take up a free challenge. And maybe if you still have some questions that we can continue afterwards. So I thought a very good challenge, if associated with allergies, if you're eating sugar on a regular basis, to try giving that up. And if you go onto the International Macrobiotics School website, there is a sugar-free challenge, and it's describing a little bit the effects of sugar and taking you through 7 steps to help you, which you can follow through to help you give up eating refined sugar. And it also has some great recipes with some photos for you to cook as well, because if we're going to cut out foods, nearly always we need to replace it with some good foods. So I think this will really help you to, if you've got a sugar habit, I think it'll really help you to give up and get on a kind of permanently more healthy way of eating. And if you've got allergies, I think it'll definitely help. I think there's 1 or 2 questions I missed. People saying, well, what can I do about allergies? Well, giving up sugar would be a really good thing. So after this is finished, I'll put the link up on Facebook. Or if you go to the school website, which is macroschool.co.uk, or you can put in International Macrobiotics School. And you go to the bar, and it says information, and then in that information you'll see sugar-free challenge, and you can download that. I also want to tell you about a 6-week internet course that I'm going to be running from the beginning of September, called 6 Steps to Health. So this is, I'm kind of trying out the whole thing of working on the internet, because I just want to reach a lot more people. I've been teaching about health and giving a lot of consultations for 35 years, and I really want to reach out to more people. So there's an internet course called the 6 Steps to Health, and that will involve me giving 6 a weekly 2-hour video session, and we're going to use Zoom so everybody can see each other. It'll be for a limited number of people, maximum of 10 people, and you will also get a full set of course notes emailed to you, and including recipes to cook and exercises to do. And I think it'll be a lot of fun. And again, there's full details on the website. If you go to short courses and scroll down to 6 Steps to Health, you can click on that, and it's got a whole page of information, and I'll also put that link on after we've finished here. If you feel like joining that, it'd just be great to see you. I've enjoyed talking to you and hearing your questions, and thank you, Oslam and Robert, and other people are saying it's nice to see me. I wish I could see you too, but yeah, Oslam, I hope you're good. It's been quite a while since I've seen you. Mamen, nice to see you there. If you'd like to join the internet course, then it'd be great, because then we can all see each other and really go into more depth with studying health and your health. And it'll be half learning, and it'll be half supporting you in making positive changes in your health. So there we go. We've done 45 minutes. If anybody has a few last questions, then I'm happy to answer those. So let's see if any come through. Hi, Ellen. Yeah, I'll be seeing you in Belgium soon. Um, so I think people are just dropping in as they visit Facebook's page. Okay, I can't see any new questions on allergies coming up, so I think we'll finish this session there. If I haven't answered your question, then please message me. Next one of these is on the 15th, and then there's another one on the 20th. So talking about different aspects of health. So if you've enjoyed this one, then I feel like some of the YouTube things I've been watching, we say if you've enjoyed this one, then please join me for the next one. Yeah, it'd be great to have you join, and yeah, I'm very happy to talk. Okay, so I'm going to end this now, and I will put up the links to the sugar challenge and also the 6 steps to health. Yeah. Best wishes to you all. Wish you good health, happiness, and a lot of fun in life. Bye-bye.